Hi, this is Samantha Catchy, Family Assistance and Program Manager at Hope for Three. In today's TeleH.O.P.E, we're going to talk about 3 tips that can help reduce anxiety. Joining me today is a licensed clinical social worker, Lynsay Gaines. Hi, Lynsay.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited because you're going to talk about 3 tips that we could all use to reduce anxiety.
Right. So I like to think about things that are realistic and easy for people to do no matter whether they're at home, work, school, or elsewhere. And so, especially right now in the time that we're in, I think there is a heightened level of stress and anxiety for many of us, whether you typically have had a mental health disorder or generalized anxiety disorder. So 3 things I like to kind of have people think about in their day-to-day world is how to reduce that anxiety or stress. And so one of the things I recommend is looking at music. Music is something that is universal. And so listening to music is a way to help calm yourself, reduce your stress and anxiety. Also, I recommend people create playlists. So if you have a smartphone, something simple and that you could do is create different types of playlists to help with different types of music, genres of music that, again, maybe when you're feeling stressed, you can put on that playlist. You can take your phone with you and the music with you. You could put it on a loudspeaker
Yeah,
in
and
your home.
Lynsay, just yesterday, I downloaded this app called Calm.
Yes, and that's one of the things I'm going to be recommending. So
Oh,
there are 3 apps that have musical components to them that I like. One is called Calm, one is called Relax Melodies, and then, of course, there's Headspace. And so a lot of those apps have different types of instrumental music or where you can create your own melodies from different sounds. And so to me, that's another way to utilize music to help with, again, creating a sense of calm when you're feeling stressed or heightened. And then if you play an instrument, I oftentimes work with teens who play instruments. And so music is a way for them to have an outlet and to also be able to kind of soothe themselves when they're feeling stressed and anxious. So I recommend if you have an instrument, you know how to play a keyboard, the piano, sax, any type of musical instrument that you also utilize that, especially during this time when you may be at home more often than not. There's also a lot of live music happening over social media.
yeah.
So on Instagram and in Facebook, I've seen a lot of artists, all different types of artists, playing music live for individuals. They usually have scheduled times, or you may just log in and see that they're playing. And so it's, again, another easy tool and way to kind of take a break from some of the stress and anxiety that we're experiencing with COVID-19. And it's something that I think, again, can be utilized ongoing to
No,
help.
that's awesome.
So along with music, I also recommend journaling for times when you are feeling anxious. And the reason I recommend journaling is it's relatively easy to do. You can use your notes in your smartphone. You can also purchase, just a simple notebook or an actual journal. And they have all types of resources to get access to journals now at a very, low, affordable rate. And when you write down your thoughts in those times when you're feeling more anxious or stressed, then you can look for a pattern. Are there certain times of day that you tend to feel more anxious? Are there certain situations that make you feel more uncomfortable or heightened or stressed? And when we know the pattern, then we can create ways to help you manage those symptoms and also to help you reduce and prepare for those events. So if I know I get anxious when I go into a really crowded place, maybe by knowing that is one of my patterns of when I get triggered, I can prepare maybe to go to the store early in the morning when it's going to be less crowded, or choose to go to a matinee versus an 8 p.m. show. So those are just generalizations, but I think things that we have to be mindful of. And once you know what those triggers are for your anxiety, again, you can work with a mental health professional. You can utilize some of the tools that we're talking about today to help you better manage those symptoms and side effects of anxiety.
I think that's really awesome that you mentioned journaling, because sometimes I'm so in my head all the time and I feel like there's so many thoughts going on in my head. And so even if I wanted to figure out what's going on, it's like I'm competing with all these things.
Right.
And then writing is when I'm not interrupted. So if I start writing,
You can let it all
no
out.
one's interrupting.
Well, and that's the thing about anxiety. Anxiety is excessive worry and thoughts. And sometimes we have created worst case scenarios that may or may not happen, and it may not be reality, but our worrisome thoughts and our excessive worry has us believe that only one perspective, only one situation or outcome can occur. And so journaling is a way, again, to put all those thoughts that are keeping you up and worried and stressed and kind of in this constant heightened state, to allow you to put it all on paper and to release that, so that you're not carrying that in your physical body and your mental body, your brain.
Wow.
Which then kind of leads me to the last and kind of third tip, which is sleep. Sleep is really important, because when we experience stress in our life, we might find it difficult, right, to either fall asleep at night or to stay asleep. And so when you have sleep disruption, it definitely can affect your mental health and your mood. And so when you're stressed, your body oftentimes needs additional sleep and rest. And so someone who's anxious, who has these excessive thoughts that, repeat themselves over and over again and are hard to kind of quiet and calm, especially as we're getting closer to nighttime, when your house tends to be more quiet, you have more free time. That's when those thoughts for some people tend to exacerbate. And so it makes it difficult for them to actually get a good night's rest. And so there are some simple things that you can do to help reduce anxiety, and that can come from sleep disruption. And that's limiting your coffee or caffeine and alcohol intake, especially closer to your evening hours, right?
Oh, okay.
I also think, again, calming your mind. So some of the apps that we talked about earlier,
yes,
I have saved on my phone. And so even for my 11-year-old daughter, who sometimes have difficulty with sleep, we use the Calm app now, or Relax Melodies app. And we put that on at night to help calm her and help her to do some brief meditations before falling asleep. Also thinking about your environment. Where are you sleeping? So taking into consideration things like your lighting, sound, what's the temperature in the room. And then I think one of the best tools too is to kind of set a routine time to go to sleep.
okay.
So oftentimes anxiety will have us, again, thinking excessively and staying up sometimes till, midnight, 1, 2, 3, 5 in the morning. And of course, when you're not getting a good night's sleep consistently, again, that's going to keep your anxiety increased and your stress level heightened. And it'll be difficult for you to function in your day-to-day lives. And so setting kind of a routine time to go to bed, and then also turning off, I would say, electronics, roughly 30 minutes at least to an hour ahead of time, has found to be helpful, because the screen time, the lighting, being on a screen, again, those things that you've last seen tend to kind of stay in the forefront of your thoughts and of your mind. So it's sometimes more difficult for people to fall asleep. And so those are just, some very brief, simple ways I think that we can implement in our homes, or like I said, at work or in our lives, to kind of help us reduce our anxiety levels and stress.
And I think with that plugging off or unplugging. So a lot of times I know I've had to tell parents, like, hey, that's what we do with kids. We no iPad time, maybe read a book, but I never thought about how that even for adults, because sometimes I will be in bed trying to fall asleep, but I need to respond to that last email, or I need to be on Facebook to see what's happened all day. And I don't realize that I fall asleep with the phone, or I didn't realize, like, we tell kids to do this, but it's also so helpful to us as adults. So
right. Well, and I think adults juggle so many roles and responsibilities, right? You're a parent, you're someone's child yourself. You may also be an employee or an employer, or a student. And so you have multiple roles that you're dealing with every day. And it's oftentimes easier to care for everyone else, but you forget to care for yourself, and kind of also creating boundaries for yourself as kind of the adult responsible person maybe in your family. And so I think in light of, just normal day-to-day activities, responsibilities, and stressors, in addition to COVID-19, we have to be mindful of how those different things affect us as well as our families.
Wow, Lynsay, thank you so much. This was really good. Of course, I'm going to be using all of this for myself as well. So this is really, really awesome. And we hope you enjoyed this short but practical TeleH.O.P.E session. For more information, resources, fun activities to do with your kids, please check out hopefor3.org/resources. Until then, bye.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.